I'm Chris Fry from 19 News. Here are the latest headlines for Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026.
First with breaking news. First with new information. Plus, your first alert forecast. 19 News starts now.
Excited to coach this football team. Absolutely. I can't wait for them to get back and for us to get started.
Here we go. Browns' new boss makes his first impression on Browns fans. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Brian Duffy.
And I'm Nicole Versansky. Todd Monken spent a good 30 minutes taking questions, talking to Browns fans. Ashley Holder is here with what he had to say. Ashley.
Yeah, in the first few minutes, you could tell this guy is way more colorful than Kevin Stefanski, but he has to win. And remember, when he got the job, that meant Jim Schwartz did not. Technically, Schwartz is still with the Browns, but for how much longer?
I think Jim is an outstanding defensive coordinator. I think we all would agree with that, but I think it's a little inappropriate for me to comment about that at this time. I didn't take this job because of Jim Schwartz. I have a lot of respect for Jim Schwartz, but as I would hope he has for me. But I took it because of the players that are here. My anticipation is we're not going to change the system. Very difficult to go against. I'm not planning on changing the system. We're built for the system that they're in currently. We're going to keep the same system. We're still going to let them attack. We're still going to let them play free. I can't see any other way. They're a big reason why I took this job.
Well, issue number one, of course, is going to be quarterback, whether it's Shedeur Sanders or someone else. And that's what I asked him about today. We got a little bit of a sample size of Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel. What excites you most of working with those two young quarterbacks as well as the rest of the quarterbacks room?
Well, I think you've got two young players that still have a long way to go in terms of development, and that's part of the learning curve in the NFL. And then you've got a player like Deshaun, who's coming back from injury, and at one time was a Pro Bowl player and an elite player in this league, that we would love to tap back into that, let alone with Dillon and Shedeur. I mean, I'm excited. I'm ready to get going.
And Denzel Ward said after the season that they need a coach who will hold players accountable. And how does Monken plan on doing it? Mark Schwab will have that at 5 o'clock. For now in the studio, I'm Ashley Holder, 19 News.
Well, Ashley asked a good question there, and a lot of people aren't going to be happy with the answer hearing about Deshaun. But, you know, whatever helps the Browns, I guess, is the best thing there moving forward.
Didn't know what to expect. First impression, I mean.
Yeah. Well, everybody wins the press conference, right? And I think he did. He said all the right things. He sounded good. But, we'll see. You got to win games.
That's the key.
That's the bottom line.
That's the key.
All right, Coach Monken had plenty to say, so we'll be bringing that to you during newscasts all afternoon. Plus, streaming tonight, a deeper dive in a brand new episode of Off the Leash. Watch on the free 19 News Plus streaming app, cleveland19.com, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, breaking news here in Cleveland. A former divorce attorney accused of killing his client is in court for a pretrial hearing. 52-year-old Gregory Moore is accused in the deadly stabbing of Eliza Sherman at his downtown office in 2013. Now, the case was cold until just last year when Moore was arrested. Trial is set to begin in September, so today's proceedings are actually in the judge's chambers. As soon as we know what happened, we'll bring it to you on air and on 19 News Plus.
Now your 19 First Alert forecast. Certified most accurate since 2004.
Now to your first alert on the cold that evidently is never going away, and the snow that we could be seeing here.
19 First Alert meteorologist Sam Roberts tells us about this drop in temperatures and the first alert day for Friday.
It's relentless this winter.
It is.
Isn't it? First it was December, started cold, then it was January, was just cold, and well, it's not stopping. So.
Well, we made it to February.
Who's in charge of that? Jeff? I'm not taking responsibility for that. Friday, a first alert weather day. Now, we issue these when we feel the weather will have significant impacts on you. It could be disruptive to your schedule. So what we're most concerned here about commutes on Friday, especially the morning commute. Closures, delays, not out of the question, although we don't make those decisions here. But with snow coming in the morning, that does make things complicated for the morning drive. Little clipper system coming through, and the scattered snow continues through the day. Friday. I think about 1 to 3 inches of snow locally, up to 4. So not a ton, but enough to create some issues. We've actually got some snow out there today, but at least it's not frigid cold. It's cold. It feels like February, but it's not as bad as it was a week ago. 27 in Cleveland, and here is your snow extending from Solon out into southern Geauga County. This is pretty steady stuff here, so be careful if you're driving around the Middlefield area or just to the south or out into Solon. This could be making things a little bit slick on the roadways. We'll keep a chance for snow in over the course of the evening, although it should be pretty localized. We'll take a closer look at Friday's system coming up in just a bit.
Well, this stunned me when I heard about this today. 3 years now since that train derailment and disaster in East Palestine. One
Ohio congresswoman says nothing has been done to keep it from happening again. 19 Data journalist Dan DeRose joins us now with her request.
Remember, we had all those congressional hearings.
I went out there.
Yeah, you were in D.C. Norfolk Southern was on the Hill giving testimony. Surely there have been some laws and regulations that have changed since then. Let's talk about it. This was 3 years ago today, the date of the accident. There was a reduction in accidents. The reduction in accidents in locomotives, the Rail Act. That's what came out of all of those hearings and meetings. And what was it supposed to do? Some of it was common sense. This legislation was pitched shortly after. It was on March 17th. How about an increase in fines the Department of Transportation can give to some of these rail companies? There need to be better rail car audits and inspections, more time for inspections before they set out on the rails. They need to phase out certain rail tanks, the ones that fell over in East Palestine and, well, had to be blown up, which we found out later that didn't have to happen. Would you believe that none of these have been voted on? It's never even made it to committee. And according to Congresswoman Emilia Sykes, well, she blames Republicans.
There has been no movement on this bill because the Republican leadership has absolutely refused to stand up to the rail lobby. The rail lobby made it very clear they do not want to see any additional regulations or safety measures related to Norfolk Southern's train derailment in East Palestine, and they have completely capitulated to the industry at the expense of folks in East Palestine and, quite frankly, all over the country.
Republicans are in control of the House. They have never assigned it. The past 2 congressional sessions have never assigned it to committee for hearings. Here's what Sykes would like to see, and she pitched today a new act, the Railroad Safety and Accountability Act. What does it do? She wants to restore the power to the Railroad Safety Advisory Commission. She says federal regulators have actually reduced the size of that committee, threatening the safety. This is just a small piece, doesn't get that first Rail Act moving, but she's going to try and push this through to at least get some better voices or more voices on the Safety Advisory Committee.
Now your 19 First Alert traffic update.
Some good news for drivers in Bracknell. That broken down car that was blocking the left lane has just been cleared and is pushed over onto the right side of that exit ramp that goes from 90 eastbound to Eddy Road. But that just happened. So as you can see, it is still a slow go as ODOT is moving that camera for us. So you can see on the other side of 90 eastbound where drivers are still going pretty slowly through the Bracknell area for about a 3-mile stretch. Speed just around 15 miles per hour with you tapping the brakes all the way back by where 90 meets MLK Junior Drive. If you're about to be heading out right this minute and going to be there in the next 5 minutes, odds are you're probably going to be still hitting the brakes, but wait an extra 10 and I do expect that to clear out. However, even though we have a lot of crashes and breakdowns, I want to bring you to this 7-mile stretch of slowdowns that's in Lake County right now on 90 eastbound from the Kirtland area through Mentor towards Concord. I don't have a cause of it, but it's towards 44, and drivers within that 7-mile stretch are only going 19 miles per hour, causing 22-minute delays.
Today's show anchor Savannah Guthrie asking for prayers as the search for her mother continues. Investigators believe Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her Arizona home over the weekend. Police say time is of the essence here, especially since Guthrie is without crucial daily medication. Michael.
An urgent search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie.
It is our belief she was removed from that home against her will.
The LA Times reporting authorities found blood inside Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home. That according to 2 law enforcement sources who were not authorized to discuss the case publicly. The report did not detail whose blood it was or where in the house it was found. But the Pima County Sheriff did say law enforcement found a, quote, very concerning scene, and that Guthrie is without crucial daily medications.
We're racing the clock here. Her meds are important, and the family has told us 24 hours without those meds could be fatal.
Nancy Guthrie was last seen by her family Saturday night. When she did not show up to church Sunday morning, relatives went to her home and then called 911 around noon to report her missing. Local and federal investigators are now part of the effort to find her. Community members also helping too.
I'm going to go do my part and see what I can find. If something happened to my mom, I don't want as many people out here trying to help me find her.
Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, who traveled to Tucson, is posting about the search for her mother, writing on Instagram in part, "Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment. We need you. Bring her home." Michael Yoshida reporting.
All right, Samantha Roberts returns in just a couple of minutes with your forecast, and we're expecting more snow, and you can see that blanket of snow covering just about everything still from our power tower camera, that's what we'll call it, from Parma. House passed a funding package to end the partial government shutdown today, sending the bill to President Trump's desk.
The legislation funds the Department of Homeland Security for less than 2 weeks while lawmakers negotiate reforms to ICE. Erica Brown reports from Capitol Hill.
Without objection, the motion is adopted.
By a vote of 217 to 214, the House narrowly passed a funding bill to end the partial government shutdown Tuesday.
I'm happy to report Republicans got the job done. Our majority worked together, and we got the bills over the line.
The legislation includes 5 full-year spending bills and only a temporary funding extension for the Department of Homeland Security, as Democrats demand reforms to immigration enforcement policies following federal agents fatally shooting 2 Minneapolis residents.
Body cameras must be required by law, and masks must come off. Judicial warrants are a requirement, not a suggestion.
President Trump is expected to sign the bill soon. Now that the measure has passed, Democrats will have less than 2 weeks to reach a deal with Republicans about reforming ICE before funding for Homeland Security runs out.
Kristi Noem must go.
Ahead of the vote, 22 House Democrats protested outside ICE headquarters, calling for Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to step down and ICE be dismantled.
The presence of ICE in our communities is not about public safety. This is about stoking fear, silencing peaceful dissent.
On Monday, Noem announced that the department is deploying body cameras to every officer in the field in Minneapolis. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In addition to Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection, funding for Homeland Security also goes to a number of other agencies, including TSA and FEMA.
Now your 19 First Alert forecast. Certified most accurate since 2004.
Got a little snow out there today, but at least it hasn't been as extremely cold as it was about a week ago. But now we got to deal with some snow coming in. This is on Friday, a First Alert weather day, and we issue these when we feel the weather may be disruptive to your everyday routine. You know, you commute in the morning and you hope that it's not too snowy out there, but I worry about Friday morning. So here's future view. This is going to come in really early in the morning. The clock is above my head, so this is about 4 o'clock in the morning or so. So before everybody hits the roads, it will have been snowing for a few hours in some spots, which means it's going to be slick out there. So first alert for the morning drive, snow-coated roads, visibility issues. It's going to be windy, so that's going to cause blowing snow, which reduces visibility even further. So we need to take it extra slowly on Friday morning. Now, some snow is going to stick around through the afternoon and even for your evening plans. So we will have some occasional travel headaches throughout the day and even into the overnight hours. I don't think we'll completely shut the snow off. This starts as a clipper system coming through, and then eventually on the back end of it, I do think we'll get a little bonus lake effect snow. A general 1 to 3 inches with this, so it's not a ton of snow. Most of us will fall around 2 to 3 inches, but some of us could see locally up to 4 inches, mainly out across the snow belt. And speaking of snow, it's snowing out there right now for some of us. You might be wondering, like, how is there lake effect and how is there going to be lake effect late Friday into Saturday if the lake is 95% frozen? Well, there's still cracks in the ice. There's a little open water out there in spots, and some of the ice is thin, so it gives us a little moisture to work with. And sometimes we pull a connection from other lakes. Like if we have a north wind, we can get a little connection off of Huron. So lake effect season never totally ends. It just gets a little bit less intense once there's ice on the lake. And here's the snow now towards Auburn and into Parkman, Middlefield, Burton. This is kind of steady snow, so be careful out there if you're traveling in this area. A little snow offshore as well. And if this holds together, this will drift onshore over the next few hours. So for tonight, 4 degrees. Just what you wanted to hear. Little snow early and then flurries overnight. The biggest issue, I think, tonight, just the cold. It wasn't too bad this morning, but tomorrow morning will feel a little bit rough. 21 tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with some sun breaking out in the afternoon. We got a couple of quiet days Wednesday into Thursday before our alert day on Friday. Friday's system, while it's not bringing us a ton of snow, it is bringing us some really cold Canadian air for the weekend. 14 on Saturday.
I'm jacked. I mean, I'm excited to be with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it really, it's hard to even put into words.
Now your top 4 at 4. He is the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and Todd Monken had plenty to say. We brought it to you live at noon. Monken, who comes from the Ravens, where he was the offensive coordinator, admitted he was thrilled to get this job, looking forward to the challenge of getting the Browns headed in the right direction. Did not shed a lot of light on the quarterback situation.
Right, this is new video from a plane crash in Brimfield Township. It happened Sunday. It's a Piper Cub aircraft upside down in a heavily wooded area. This is about a mile off Ranfield Road. Took troopers actually several minutes just to get to the wreckage on foot. The cockpit was smashed into what appears to be the side of a ravine. The Wadsworth area pilot, his 12-year-old daughter, were taken to local hospitals to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries.
Investigators found signs of forced entry at the Arizona home of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. Meanwhile, the host asked for prayers to help bring back the missing 84-year-old. Authorities believe she was taken against her will. The sheriff said Nancy Guthrie must be found soon because she could die without her medication. Investigators also found evidence showing this was a nighttime kidnapping.
The First Energy bribery trial started today in Summit County. Opening statements got underway. Former First Energy CEO Chuck Jones and former Senior Vice President Michael Dowling were both charged for their roles in the House Bill 6 scandal. The $60 million bribery scheme centers on First Energy's efforts to have state lawmakers pass a bailout of 2 of its nuclear plants. Super Bowl 60 is this Sunday. Security officials, they have preparing for this event for really the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's a massive event. More than 35 federal, state, and local agencies are working together to keep the Bay Area safe. From the waters under the Golden Gate Bridge to Levi Stadium, about an hour south of San Francisco, officials say there are no credible threats surrounding the Super Bowl, but they encourage everyone, if they see something, to say something. The Department of Homeland Security also involved, though ICE and immigration enforcement are not part of this operation.
The Office of Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction has a role. The Coast Guard has a role. The department's depth in providing services, technical expertise, and personnel to this event and other special events is wide-ranging and well-established.
Bay Area hosted Super Bowl 50 10 years ago. Law enforcement officials say they've looked back at that week and then upgraded security measures. More than 1.3 million people are expected to arrive at San Francisco's airport this week. Breaking at this hour, this man, William Stevenson, former First Lady Jill Biden's ex-husband, was indicted on a murder charge. This in connection to the death of his second wife late last year in Delaware. In late December, police responded to a reported domestic dispute. Linda Stevenson was found in the living room, later pronounced dead. Stevenson is locked up after not being able to post bail.
Also breaking, the former British ambassador to the United States is leaving the House of Lords. Peter Mandelson's resignation will be effective tomorrow. Mandelson is under fire after revelations about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. That relationship is what cost him his ambassador role in September. He's now under investigation for allegedly leaking market-sensitive information to Epstein.
Well, it's a new year, an opportunity for local politicians, at least some of them, to reset goals. 19 News sat for a one-on-one interview with County Exec Chris Ronayne.
Harry Boomer gets a sense of what he's working on now and to see if he's changed his stance on the new Brown Stadium.
All right, today the Browns made it official. As we move along, they have picked a new head coach, but the debate over the new home of the team has not passed yet.
Let's put it this way, 4 weeks from yesterday, we're going to start the largest construction job in Cuyahoga County history, so I think that would tell you how confident we are.
All right, the stadium and the teams moving from downtown Cleveland is still on the mind of County Exec Chris Ronayne. All right, we'll get to Chris Ronayne here in just a bit. Nikki.
An Ohio man on the run for 18 years is now locked up. Marshals arrested Craig Scanlon. He was found working at a Miami Beach hotel in Florida. The 68-year-old was convicted in federal court of mail fraud, money laundering, after embezzling clients out of nearly $700,000. So in 2007, while he was on supervised release, Scanlon went on the run. So he will soon be brought back to Northern Ohio.
All right, we have new video now. Police arrested a man behind a standoff on the city's west side this morning. You can see him being put in handcuffs, then in a squad car. This started as a domestic violence situation on Dearborn Avenue near West 73rd. Police say the man refused to come out of a home and was yelling at officers from a porch. Officers say a woman and a kid were also inside the home at the time but managed to escape safely. Officials in Minneapolis say federal agents are continuing their immigration crackdown. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says all ICE agents will now be wearing body cameras. Nicole Sganga spoke with one sheriff who says much more needs to be done.
After weeks of protests and 2 deaths, the Trump administration seemed to signal it was ready to de-escalate in Minneapolis. But Hennepin County Sheriff Dewana Witt says the federal presence here remains unchanged.
Have you seen evidence of a drawdown?
Have not seen it yet.
Last week, border czar Tom Homan vowed a reduction in the number of federal agents in Minneapolis if local officials gave immigration agents more access to county jails. Witt says she sat down with Homan and is willing to compromise.
I hear you saying you're considering notifying ICE when someone will be released, which would be a change.
I could say that there's been conversations had. In my opinion, truly the worst of the worst, murder, rape, things like that. I do think that we need to have further conversations.
For now, 3,000 immigration officers continue to fan out across the Twin Cities, expanding operations into the suburbs.
They are seriously attacking me.
Footage obtained by NPR News taken last Thursday shows a woman in St. Peter, Minnesota being stopped by federal agents who immediately drew their weapons. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security called the woman an agitator, saying officers arrested her after she'd been stalking law enforcement. Sheriff Witt says tactics by some federal agents have damaged the community's relationship with all law enforcement.
It's ridiculous. And we do not need our community thinking that that is the way that law enforcement is supposed to be.
Sheriff Witt also told us that members of the public record her deputies all the time and said Alex Preddy, the Minneapolis nurse who was shot and killed by CBP agents last month, should not be dead. Monday, the Hennepin County medical examiner classified his death as a homicide. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Minneapolis.
We're still trying to get answers on the cause of a house fire in Ashtabula County. Firefighters from western Pennsylvania were called to help fight this one. You can see the thick black smoke coming from the home. This is on Route 7 in Williamsfield Township. This was yesterday afternoon, right around 3, but it took several hours to put this one out. We have not heard of any injuries.
I'm Chris Fry. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe for the latest headlines every weekday.